Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Netflix exclusive movie Bright starring Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. Bright is set in a world much like ours, but where different races such as orcs, elves, and dwarves live side by side with humans. There are many class separations between the races. Elves are pretty much all high society. Orcs have pretty much been pushed to the lower class because of a decision their race made 2,000 years ago, and humans, well, humans are just trying to get by. When the police force is forced by the government to hire an orc officer, two unlikely partners, one human and one orc, must learn to trust each other if they are going to survive getting caught up in a street war for a magic wand. That actually sounds pretty cool, right? Well, first, I have to get a message out there to some critics. For those of you that are calling Bright the worst sci-fi movie ever or the worst thing that Will Smith has ever done, slow down. First, if you're saying that Bright is worse than, let's say, Battlefield Earth, then you don't know bad sci-fi. About it being Will Smith's worst movie, well, you don't have to go too far back for that one. Obviously, you haven't suffered through Collateral Beauty yet. I can even one-up both the worst sci-fi and worst Will Smith argument. So, critics, have you not seen After Freaking Earth? Now, with that out of the way, is Netflix's Bright any good? Well, kinda. I have to give this movie a lot of credit for the chances that it took and the plot ideas that it tried. I've always been a fan of the idea of fantasy elements being set in our world. If I have to give an example of what I think this movie was going for, I would pick something like the Shadowrun game. It's just fun to imagine how different races would fit into our society. Would having different races change racism on our planet? Would racist people start showing less hate for skin color if there was another species besides humans? How would races that have a longer lifespan than humans thrive since they would have more time to be successful? How would professional sports be affected? There are so many questions to be asked, and this movie does attempt to answer them. I think the biggest thing working against this movie is time. Bright is about 2 hours long, so it is limited in what it can fit into that time frame. This movie reminded me of a couple different things. The first was the movie Alien Nation. Well, I thought that it was a pretty decent movie. Like Bright, it's limited to how much it could inform the viewer about the aliens in its runtime. While it couldn't keep all the movie's cast, it got the opportunity to tell more of its story in the form of a TV show that unfortunately only ran for one season. The other thing that Bright reminded me of was the movie End of Watch. Granted, this shouldn't really be a surprise since both movies were directed by David Ayer. From what I understand, they are wanting to make Bright a series of movies, so hopefully they will get another chance to build upon this world that they started. I do feel that something like this probably would benefit more from a TV show format though. Now, while this movie did have a lot of great ideas, the execution of those ideas didn't always work. The only thing that I can really blame for certain things not working in this movie is the lack of time. There are so many ideas that the movie is trying to get across and set up that it kind of affects the story as a whole. While the main focus is on police officers Ward and Jacoby, played by Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, all the situations they go through have tons of different stories that are trying to be told. There's the overall stories of the different races and their standings in the world, there's the prophecy of the Dark Lord, there's the idea that magic is the key to power and success, magic wands, if you can use them, grant you limitless power and wishes, plus much, much more. It's like trying to fit all of the Lord of the Rings trilogy into one 2-hour movie. When it came to the performances and the characters in this movie, I kinda liked them. Well, I can't say that this was Will Smith's best performance or anything. I thought he did a pretty good job. His character has to learn to trust his orc partner who he is forced to work with. He's there to do some action and crack some jokes. While the jokes didn't always land, it's not for the lack of trying on Smith's part. Joel Edgerton plays the orc Nick Jacoby, who has wanted nothing more than to be a police officer his entire life. He is hated by his fellow officers for being an orc and hated by orcs for wanting to be a cop. While Edgerton isn't given the meaty material you'd want someone as good as him to have, he does a decent job with what he's given. Granted, there are times that the stuff he was given was less meaty and more hammy, but it fits the tone of the movie. I also like that this is one of those roles where if you already didn't know who was behind the makeup, you probably couldn't tell from looking. Man, that guy can do anything. Nomi Rapace plays the villain of the story, an elf named Layla. While I thought she did fine, she really wasn't given much to do except, I'm the bad guy. Lastly, Edgar Ramirez plays the elven government agent Candemir. His character works for the government task force that battles magic. Like Rapace, he didn't get a ton to do, but if they're gonna make more movies in this universe, I'm sure he'll play a more significant role in the future. While I felt this movie did try to tell too many stories, I had a lot of fun in the world that they tried to create. At its core, this one is a fantasy buddy cop movie. Two cops, neither of who have the greatest trust for each other, have to find a way to protect someone from different but constant threats. While not everything works, there is still a lot to enjoy here. The action's decent, the characters are pretty good, and the setting has a lot of potential. Sure, there are some things that need worked on, but if this movie does get its next chapter, this could be a pretty fun movie franchise. Here's the deal. It's on Netflix, which you probably already have a subscription for, so what do you have to lose? Those comparing this to some of Netflix's other offerings need to lighten up a bit. Turn on Bright and try to have a good time. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Netflix's Bright, tell me what you think about it in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.